Next presenter will Teguh Santosa from Indonesia. He's the member of Ethical Council Indonesian Journalists Association. And he will present about covering Korean Peninsula's peace agenda. Teguh?
Okay. To make it the forum more cheer up. 1, 2, 3. Okay, guys. Professor Lee, thank you for the opportunity. Colleagues from all over the world. So before I get into the main part of my speech regarding to the Korean Peninsula, I would like to share some of my basic principles in working as a journalist. The main reason why I would like to work as a journalist is because I cannot, or it is hard for me, to believe in any story that I read, I watch, and I listen. It is not because I simply don't believe the source, the person, or the media, but it is because I think and believe that as a human being, anyone has a natural difficulty that cannot be solved until today. Any human being cannot be at more than one place at one time. Any human being lives in his or her time and space. When something happens outside, we depend on someone or agent to let us know about what happened. Of course, the person that we depend on will tell us the story based on his or her understanding or framing. In the practice of journalism, that person is us, journalists. We suppose that we are meant to voice the voiceless, to defend the oppressed from the oppressor, to maintain the peace and to make sure that there is no one left behind the civilization. We truly know the power of information, yet many say that media is the best weapon ever invented by a human being. Therefore, we agreed on a set of ethics and code of conduct in journalism. Basically, it is a self-made limitation to control us in doing our profession. And also, nowadays, we've seen how the nature of and the landscape of information have changed, and it moved to the more complex level. Too many information, and yet the time that we need to understand the whole context is so limited. It seems like today we tend to set our beliefs and values at the first time, and only after that fixed and permanent, then we apply what we have seen as fact within that belief. This is what we call as a post-truth, when belief comes first, and the way we are looking at the fact are adjusted following the belief. Based on this primary understanding, I think it is very important for us to complete the puzzle of facts and values by reporting the parts or the portions that maybe not many or even no one wants to cover it, like the Democratic People's Republic of Korea or simply North Korea. My first visit to North Korea was in April 2003. It's like 14 years ago. So you will see different person back then in 2003. We all remember those days were times when the slogan of war on terrorism and axis of evil color our editorial and our mindset in setting values in each story. In one of his speeches, President Bush of US sealed North Korea as a member of the axis of evil next to Iraq and Iran. The seal was also in my head before I departed from Jakarta to Beijing, and actually many friends tried to stop me, worried that the worst could happen there. But I found Pyongyang was a fine city, quiet, big roads, nice people are everywhere. At first, I worried if it was a situation like in Truman movie, a Truman Show movie. Any of you maybe seen the movie already, yeah? Truman Show movie from 1998, and it is satirical fiction movie starred by Jim Carrey, so it is a good movie, yeah? Because the star is Jim Carrey, so it is a good movie. And it is about a life of Truman Burbank, the name of the fictional character in that movie. He lives in a super giant studio, and he believes that studio is the real world. And he met people, nice people, surrounding him. And actually, they were not common people. They were actors carrying out specific roles given by the directors. So, back to Pyongyang in 2003. As everything looked beautiful on the way from the airport to the Haibangsan Hotel in the city center, just a few blocks from Kim Il-sung Square, it had crossed my mind whether I or those people who looked fine were Truman Burbank. My question was answered as soon as I arrived in the hotel and stepped into my hotel room. In 2003, the condition of the hotel was not that good. Not many lights were on. The corridor to the hotel rooms was also dim, and there was only one light that shone just in front of my room. Yeah, you know that the energy crisis forced North Korea at the time to save on the use of electricity equipment. And I returned to North Korea 9 years later. Also in April, only a few months after Kim Jong-un was elected as the new leaders of the country, following the death of his father Kim Jong-il in December 2011. In April 2012, Pyongyang was filled with no less than 1,000 of journalists who came from various countries in the world. They came to North Korea to cover the North Korea plans when they are about to launch a satellite into the space. The Yanggakdo Hotel backyard looked like a mini TV studio. The news anchor gave a report by standing back to the Taedong River and Juche Tower, while in the lobby of hotel, hundreds of journalists, reporters, they went here and there with the LO to visit several places in Pyongyang and so on and so on. And at the end, all of us, we gathered in Kim Il-sung Square, listened to Kim Jong-un's first speech to the rest of the world. In April 2012, I saw a new North Korea. They carry out this novelty by not breaking away from the political and social tradition as well as ideology. Since that year, since 2012, every year until last year, I visited North Korea. Last year, I was there for twice, in September and in October. I met with Kim Jong-un personally in 2013. Oh yeah, that one is not in the paper, okay, so you cannot find it on the paper. And I see a very significant change in North Korea, really. Not only related to the physical matters, but also related to attitude of the North Korean people. They are now more open. In Jakarta, I also have good relationship with the North Korean embassy. I think we need to build good relationship to get the explanation, the answer of many questions that we have in our head. I can convince the North Korean embassy to be more open to journalists in Jakarta. They often give opportunity to my journalist friend to come to the embassy or to come to the activities organized by the embassy. In fact, one of the first activities by Ambassador An Kwang-il in Jakarta was visiting Indonesian Journalists Association office and have a discussion with many senior journalists at the time. My colleagues, regarding to the reunification of the two countries, I think we should realize that reunification is a constitutional duty in North Korea and also in South Korea. Their leaders in the past, especially after the Cold War ended, held a series of peace talks in that direction. The leaders of the two countries at the previous meetings agreed that reunification of the two Korea is a joint work of the Korean people and carried out in an atmosphere of peace and brotherhood. They expect that the final form of reunification will be the result of conversation among Koreans without the interference of other parties. As far as I am concerned, the peace process between the two Korea often disturbed by the third parties. The concern is that there will be a political change in this region that could harm their geostrategic and economic interests. They, the third parties, just do not want to have that new condition. Last year, we witnessed significant progress in inter-Korean talks. The leaders of the two countries have met 3 times, twice at Panmunjom and once in Pyongyang. This is an extraordinary progress, I believe. The leaders of the two countries have demonstrated their capacity as heads of state in moving forward to the national and brotherhood agenda. I think as a journalist, we all need to guard this agenda too, by giving our contribution as journalists so that peace can really happen in this region. We are witnessing the North Korea with open hearts entering the arena of civilized talk. Kim Jong-un has met twice with President Donald Trump. The first meeting was in Singapore. I was there last year. And the second meeting was in Vietnam last month. I was also there. So far, despite the absence of written agreement in the second meeting, I think the meeting of the two heads of state gives satisfactory result. In conflict study, a peace agreement required essential elements. And you may like or not, but patience is also among the elements. I should say that I am optimistic enough for the result in the future. My colleague, I think this is the very best way I can do to complete the puzzle of information and values that we need to see peace manifest on the Korean Peninsula. I suppose we all understand that sometimes and oftentimes reporters, journalists see a conflict situation from a combative lens, as if all conflicts must end with dramatic clashes. Nevertheless, we have to remember that each conflict has unique dynamic from time to time. It is our responsibility to understand the overall dynamics so that we can get a complete picture and finally find a more positive and constructive perspective. Working as a journalist should not be intended to explode, to start a new war, which in other words could threaten our civilization. Dear colleagues, that's my view. Sharing my experience with you here is such an honor given the level of expertise I know is gathered here today. I only hope I can contribute like adding pixels to make the picture clearer, to a better understanding and a climate of peace. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you, Taegur.